All right, friends, so I have added repetition in the sky with just some simple curved repeating lines. I added some like wavy repeating lines, like kind of bumpy lines to create some texture on my mountains. I did really tiny little ovals to kind of make this look like a field of flowers. And then I added just some little grass lines in here, okay? So now to add color, this part's optional, but to add the color here, if you don't want to have to color in every single thing and you still want your patterns to shine through, if you use crayons, this works really, really well to add your repetition if you use crayons. Then you can use some markers to add color for the rest of your picture. So I'm going to start up here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit of yellow here with my markers, and these should be like just normal markers that you would kind of use at school. You don't really want to use permanent markers for this because it won't work. So I'm just going to add some little stripes of color here, and notice I'm not coloring anything in. I'm just kind of like tracing over some of my patterns that I've made. So I think I'm going to add a couple there, and then I've got some true red right here, and then I'm going to add some purple on the edge over here. So now I'm going to use a little cup of water and a paintbrush. You can also do this with just your finger in some water, and I'm going to paint over top of that marker that I just used, and it's going to kind of liquefy it and kind of turn it into paint, okay? So with that yellow, it's probably really hard to see, but when I do it with my orange, do you see how there's some orange paint? You can spread that color out a little bit, and you're still gonna have like that line from the marker. So that's why I made sure that I was just tracing over my pattern or my repetition. I wasn't coloring or making a weird shaped line. I traced right over top of the lines that I had already drawn. And sometimes the longer that water kind of like sits on the marker, the more time it'll like have to liquefy that marker ink. So you'll notice that like sometimes, depending on what kind of markers you have, if you let it sit for a little bit, like with the water on there, you'll notice that the marker kind of bleeds a little bit more. So just be patient and experiment with this process. It's really fun and very satisfying when the colors bleed a lot. And I use just a regular piece of printer paper. And if you did that too, you're going to notice like, oh my gosh, that paper looks really wet and see-through. Just be very careful with it, okay? So now if I want to continue to do this for my mountains, I'm going to trace over some of my little mountain lines here. And my mountains are pretty big, so I'm going to try to add quite a bit of marker juice or marker marks on here so there's enough ink to spread across all of my mountains. Okay. So I'm going to get my paintbrush here, and that is looking pretty awesome. So this is what I'm going to do to fill in the rest of my paper. I'm going to use this marker juice to kind of fill in the rest here. Now, once this is dry, if you want to, you can always go back and color it in more with crayons or colored pencils, whatever you want to do. This is just a really fun thing that I thought you guys would enjoy experimenting with. So I can't wait to see what you make, and I am so proud of all of your hard work. So many of you really showed how you understand big things are at the front, small things are at the back, and you know each part of the landscape. So great job, everybody.